According to census.gov, 3.8 million vets that came home came back with a physical disability. This graph gives you an idea on how veterans can be injured physically and mentally. What role do you play in this organization?
Well, I am the Regional Transportation Coordinator. So one of the things that Disabled American Veterans does is we oversee a group of veterans, or not veterans, volunteers. They're not all necessarily veterans, but we go out and we pick up veterans in need of medical appointments and bring them into the VA so they can get their services.
How many volunteers do you have here?
Working out of this office, we have about 75.
Okay.
And then I also have 2 locations in Washington County, so we have total probably about 85 volunteers.
So what other ways do you think could we help veterans, the government, you guys, in ways that are already in place?
Okay. Well, some of the things that DAV, or Disabled American Veterans, does, we're also very big on the legislative end. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of illnesses, a lot of issues that are coming up now, decades after a lot of these veterans have served. So it's going to state legislatures, Congress, and kind of presenting them the facts, the data that supports that you weren't recognizing that these illnesses were related to service, but they are, and trying to push to get those benefits in place for them. With those, something that civilians can do is just contacting their congressmen, contacting their representatives, and saying, hey, the data, it supports that this is related to service. Mm-hmm. It's something we need to do to take care of our veterans.
Right. If anybody watching, or me, for example, if I wanted to volunteer, how would I go about that?
Depends on the organization. There are a lot of good organizations out there. Each one of them usually has a little bit different of a mission. Ours, again, is pushing legislation, getting people in here for their appointments. We also have some outdoor events where we try to get veterans who on their own wouldn't be able to go fishing or hunting or camping anymore, and with assistance get them back outside. It's a good therapy. It's good, mental release for them.
So you guys are, would you say, more like you get them into appointments and you do more of helping them get back to their normal self? They don't do like prosthetic legs or like limbs as much?
I mean, that's the VA's mission.
Okay.
Really, the DAV, our biggest mission is just to do whatever we can, with the resources we have to assist veterans.
Okay.
So, there are certain things that we do here in Minnesota that we kind of focus on, but at any time, if we see another need and see a way that we can, assist in that need, then we hop on it. So, we don't pigeonhole ourselves, and hopefully none of the organizations, the Legion or the VFW, hopefully they kind of approach it in the same manner where, you see a need, you find a way to meet that need, and you do the best you can to help the veterans that are out there.
So now he's going to go on and talk about how you can volunteer and how you can help. You can do a lot of things to help, even just mowing a veteran's lawn.
To start with
volunteering.
Again, it depends on what you want to do to volunteer. If you want to volunteer as a driver, then we have to verify that you're a safe driver, and you would contact us.
That's cool. I didn't know you could volunteer drive.
Yep. And that's what all these names up here are. These are all volunteer drivers.
Okay.
We also, a lot of the funding that we have, a lot of times around dinner time you get an annoying phone call saying DAV's in the neighborhood picking up things, just used clothing or whatever. A lot of our funding comes from that. We don't take any funding from the government.
Cool.
Because we don't want any restrictions on what we can and can't do. If we
Yeah.
see a need, we want to be able to meet that need without having to jump through any hoops or meet any state, anything that they want done. So, even organizing, clothing drive.
Yeah.
Getting in touch with the local chapter and say, hey, we're gonna organize a clothing drive. If you can make arrangements for this stuff to get picked up, and then that in turn funds things like, all the vehicles. We've got about 36 vehicles throughout the state that we use to pick up veterans.
Nice.
You know, that costs money.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, our drivers are volunteers, there's still a lot of overhead.
All right.
So things like that. Getting in touch with some of the local chapters, you know, whether it's Legion or VFW, DAV, you know, there's a lot of just individuals that are in need, and with little things, you know, that aren't usually within the scope of what we do. So,
Yeah.
you know, you're in high school.
Yeah.
So at a high school level, you know, there's veterans around that, you know, can't mow their lawn anymore.
Right.
Or-
You can do stuff like just
Yeah.
easy stuff.
Just, you know, they can't get leaves out of their gutters.
Exactly.
Or during the winter when we had those horrible ice dams, you know, that does damage to their home, but they can't get up on a ladder and bust those things
I was
off.
gonna say, me and my buddy have like a shoveling business, and
Yep.
we actually like helped a veteran out a couple times.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's stuff like that.
So a lot of it is, you know, just being aware and being willing to reach out to these guys or reach out to some of the chapters and say, hey, you know, who do you have that needs some extra help? And they'll have a list.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yep, it's nice to meet you.
You too.